Yes boys, welcome back to the channel. It's Bertrude, and today once again we are carrying on with the 50 build showcase. The DLC is nearly here guys, and this is going to be the last episode of the 50 build showcase I put out before I get stuck into that sweet DLC. I cannot wait. Anyway guys, today we're going to be looking at a couple of my favourite wizard builds, so you lot sit back, relax and enjoy. Alrighty guys, welcome back to the channel. First thing I want to say, it's a little bit obvious that I'm not talking quite as loud as I usually do. The reason for that is that my lovely wife is in bed and it is not worth my life to risk waking her up. So I'm talking a little bit quieter than usual while I'm recording this. But you know, you just get that silky smooth side of Bertrude that you're not always used to. You get those subtle sounds of my lovely gravelly voice in your ears while you're watching these invasions. So it's not all bad guys. But anyway, today we're looking at my wizard builds. We're looking at two of my favourite wizard builds, and we're starting things off with the Chaos Maker. Now I approach a wizard build quite differently to what your typical wizard might look like. I try and steer away from the typical pew blue laser beam playstyle, and I try to make things a little bit differently. A couple of videos back I made a video talking about my battle mage builds, and those were kind of builds that focused a little bit more on the weapons and the ashes of war, and then using some really kind of unconventional spells. Now the difference between my battle mages and my wizards is that the wizards rely a little bit more on the spells, but it's still quite an unconventional playstyle. It's still quite an unconventional kit, and it's still quite unconventional the way I put it all together. So I hope that becomes a bit more apparent as you're watching the video. We're only featuring two builds today. I do have maybe one or two other builds that I could have squeezed into this category, but I think these two really do kind of just sum up how I like to put a wizard build together. That is, you know, quite obviously different from the battle mage style of builds. But anyway, let's start having a look at it. First off, like I said, it's the Chaos Maker, and this guy's sitting at level 168. Now I have mentioned a couple of times lately that I'm not too keen on level 125 to 168 at the present time. I've not had the best experiences at these levels, but the Chaos Maker, I think, you know, it really is this sweet spot, level 168, so I don't really want to change it. I'm happy for this build to be at this level, and it does feel really good, so this build is staying at level 168. Now looking at this invasion, I started off, I got a nice gravity pull off the tree branch, and then I just couldn't find the host. He'd ran ahead way further into the level. It took me a couple of bloody fingers repositioning to finally find him, and by this point he'd resummoned his friend as well, so it was a bit of a tricky one. But I've caught up to him now, and let's just see how this invasion goes in the background while I'm carrying on talking about the build a little bit. So like I said, it's level 168, we've got 60 vigour, we've got 60 intelligence, and we've got 59 faith, I think. And it's pretty obvious that we're using two Sword of the Night and Flames for our main weapons. We need the intelligence and faith scaling for those weapons, but I absolutely love these straight swords. Watch this, by the way. Oh, it's beautiful. It's worth another look. Look at it. Oh, it's just the best shot of Cannon of Hyme you've ever seen in your life. What a lovely shot that was. Absolutely awful. Hang your head in shame, Bertrude. Anyway, yeah, the Swords of the Night and Flame. I absolutely love these straight swords. They are my favourite straight swords in the game. I absolutely love them. They're so versatile. The ashes of war on them that are attached to the swords. You get the laser beam, blue laser beam, and then you get the fire attack. They're so versatile and they do so much damage. In the flask as well, on this build, the Wondrous Physic, I'm actually using the flask that boosts our fire attack and boosts our magical attack, so it really does benefit whichever Ash of War I choose to use. On the flip side of that, our flask also helps to boost the damage of our spells because we're using both fire and magical spells, so it really does help in that regard as well. And speaking of our spells, we've got a good selection to choose from on this build. Now, when you're watching the gameplay on this one, it may seem sometimes like it's a lot of spell spam, and it kind of is a little bit of spell spam, but it's all there for a reason. The name of this build is the Chaos Maker, and the spells are there to do exactly that: create chaos. I want to create chaos. I want to get my opponents not knowing what's coming next. I want to confuse the battlefield. I want to make them, really worried about dodging the spells that I'm throwing at them. And in that moment, when they're trying to dodge my spells, I'm going to look to land one of the Ashes of War from the Sword of the Night and Flame and do some immense damage. But the spells on their own do a lot of good damage, so I've always got the chance to kill them with the spells. But the game plan is get them on the toes, get them running, and while they're worried about my spells, I'm going to try and land an Ash of War from the Sword of the Night and Flame and do a hell of a lot of damage. It's just a really fun playstyle. It's a really fun build. It's just such a fun playstyle. Honestly, it's so good, and it's so versatile, like I've said, and it does a lot of damage. We are lacking on poise and defences a little bit, but it's a ranged playstyle this, so I really don't want to get too close. I really don't want to get in there and brawl, but what it does superbly well. Anyway guys, this is the last invasion, so let's take a look at those ratings for the Chaos Maker. Okay guys, so performance, I'm giving it an A+. It could easily be an S build, but like I say, it lacks that capability to really get up close and brawl. Fun factors, it's an S, and fashion, I think the fashion speaks for itself on this one. Absolutely top tier fashion, S tier. Overall, just a solid build. Okay guys, we're on to the next build now, and this one is the Moon Boy. Now why is he called the Moon Boy? It's pretty simple, as you're about to see. He uses the moon. He uses Ranni's Dark Moon. He throws that bad boy around, and if that thing hits, as you can see now, it's going to do some big damage. It's such a fun spell. This build is really versatile. I usually refer to this build as the Jack of all mage, and that's because this build literally does cover all bases when it comes to combat. It's a really good build for brawling. It's got some really... oh Jesus, flipping heck, do you hear that? There's a police van going past my house. Oh, honestly, this is what you get for living on the main road, guys. Police cars come past, ambulances come past. It's just fun and games here, fun and games. But anyway, as I was saying, this build is super versatile. It's really good at getting in close. It's got some awesome close range combat options, but then as you've seen, it does have the long range options as well, so it really is the Jack of all mage. We've not got the biggest poise on this one, but it doesn't really matter with the kit that we're using. It can really just it can just really take care of itself in any situation. I'd say the main feature on this build is the fact that we're using the Carrion Regal Scepter in our main hand, not in our left hand that you'd usually see. We're using the Carrion Regal Scepter in our right hand in our first weapon slot, and then we're using a Colossal Sword in our second weapon slot in the Zweihander, or we also have the option to use the Lance, the Great Spear, in our left hand as well. So we're using the Carrion Regal Scepter, then we've got the S-Stock in our second weapon slot in our right hand, and then in our left hand we'll always either have the Zweihander or the Lance. Now the reason for that is that I wanted to have the quick access to the spinning weapon, the Carrion Regal Scepter. I wanted that to be coming out really quickly if I wanted to use it. You know, I didn't want any kind of delay in having to swap to two-handing the staff if it was in our left hand. I wanted that to be in the right hand so I can access that spinning weapon super quickly. And then also as well, I'm using the Carrion Slicer as the first spell in my rotation, so I'm kind of using the staff as the main weapon on this build, and then I'm mixing in some really slow, hard hitting attacks with the weapon in our left hand, be it the Zweihander or the Lance. So it creates a really fun playstyle, having the spells and the spinning weapon and the Carrion Slicer, you know, in our main hand on the build instead of in our left hand, which is what you do see most wizards doing. It's a really nice way to mix things up, and you do really feel that change. It's a small change, it literally is just changing hands for the staff, but you do really notice that change in play style, and it makes it really fun. It makes it quite different and quite unique. And then, you know, we've always got the S-Stock in our second weapon slot in our right hand, which is good for chase downs and you know, mixing things up a little bit. Talking of Ashes of War, the Ash of War and the S-Stock, we've got the Carrion Greatsword, so we can use that up close and personal if we get a chance to use it. And then in our weapons, on the Lance that you can see now, we've got Loretta's Slash, or the Zweihander, we've got Chilling Mist. So two really good close range options. And I think while I'm talking about the build, you're starting to see why it's so good at getting up close and personal if we have to. Between Spinning Slash, the Carrion Greatsword Ash of War, the Loretta Slash or the Chilling Mist, just four really solid options if anyone wants to push me and get in my face. They're all going to do some major damage. The spells in our rotation also give us some good long range options. We've got the Carrion Slicer, as I said, for close range, but then as the rotations with the spells progresses, we've got some long range options as well. We've also got the Moon, and we've got the Comet spell that we can throw out, which is the Great Glintstone Shard. Sorry, I just had to check there because, as always, I'd forgot what it was. But these all give us some nice options. We've got the Adula's Moonblade as well, which is a good medium range spell, really hard hitting. And then we've also got the Founding Rain of Stars. Now, that's not the most hard hitting spell, it doesn't do the most damage, but what I like to do is use the Founding Rain of Stars, and that kind of makes them back off me a little bit. And while they're distracted with the stars, I like to then throw Ranni's Dark Moon out, and it often helps land the Dark Moon, because while they're distracted with the stars, they forget that the moon's also flying at them, and it's just big damage, guys. It's just really big damage. But this is the last invasion for the Moon Boy. As you can see, we got a good kill on the summon and the host there. Good build altogether, really solid stuff. Let's take a look at those ratings. So performance, I'm putting it one above the Chaos Maker, and I'm giving it an S tier in performance. It really does cover all bases. Long range, close range, it's going to do a lot of damage. It's an S in the fun factor, and I think the fashion isn't quite as good as the Chaos Maker, so I'm giving it a B+. But there we go, guys, bit of a shorter video on this one. I know everyone's gearing up for the DLC, so I just wanted to do a few quick invasions and showcase my two all-time favourite wizard builds. Like I say, this is the last in the series for the 50 build showcase. I'm going to be moving on to some DLC content next. Hope you're all looking forward to it, but look after yourselves, and I'll see you all next time.